Trevor Lawrence was the latest quarterback to get paid. Is it time for Tua Tagovailoa to get paid? Plus, some stock watch when it comes to quarterbacks, and Hard Knocks is going north.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi again, everyone, and welcome in to the Locked On NFL podcast. He is Chris Carter. I'm James Rapien, and this is a Wednesday edition of the show. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow wherever you get your podcasts. And, well, we have a lot to dive into in terms of quarterback play. Today's show brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Chris, let's get into a question that I think is going to be asked until the Dolphins decide to pay him, if they decide to pay him. Should the Dolphins pay Tua Tagovailoa the going rate in market value for quarterbacks, where Trevor Lawrence just got $55 million per year in average annual salary? We know Joe Burrow got that last year, and even Jared Goff, $53 million AAV in his latest extension.
You know, that's going to be a big question that everyone's going to have opinions on. You know, the two and on folks are going to probably flood our mentions here and kill us if we don't say that, yes, of course you should pay him. But I look at Tua Tagovailoa, man, and I see a guy who still has potential, but has definitely benefited from having some amazing weapons around him and a system that has been built to be a modern passing offense that works with the talent that they have. Like, you know, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, they've been an awesome pair, but man, I look at some of these QB contracts, like, for example, Trevor Lawrence, his average, like he's going to make the total value and the average per year salary the same as like Joe Burrow. And I haven't seen that from Trevor Lawrence, you know, and we'll get into Trevor Lawrence comparatives to Tua Tagovailoa in a bit, but I think we've seen flashes of Tua. We've seen, like, you know, when they drop like 70 points on like the Broncos, like there's moments like that, but we haven't seen him take over a whole year and go wire to wire like, hey, I'm a bad dude and I run this. And that's where, if I'm paying super quarterback money, I need to know that you can do that, because that is the biggest thing. That is when the drop off for roster construction starts to happen, because like you can still add to your roster, but when you start paying a quarterback $50+ million a year, which is what Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, Joe Burrow, and Trevor Lawrence all make on average with their contracts, that takes up such a huge chunk of your salary cap, and that means you better hit in the draft a lot in your development of your roster, because you can only pay to even out your roster.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think what's going to happen, and I don't know when, I think the Vikings already did this to a degree. And there are going to be other teams that do this, that say, we're good. We're not going to tag you. We're not going to try to negotiate a long-term deal. And that's, the Vikings could have, we're good. We're going to pay Justin. We have Jordan Addison. We paid TJ Hawkinson. That's our core. We're going to go get a young rookie, like, and get a quarterback on a rookie deal. I think there will be teams that do that. Will not shock me if the Dolphins do that with Tua, because are you limited or are you not? Really, there are very few quarterbacks, I think, that aren't limited at least a little bit. Even Aaron Rodgers right now will be limited this season. I promise you. And he's 40, Tom Brady at the end. There were limitations there. Joe Burrow, limitations there. Patrick Mahomes, maybe Josh Allen, but even Josh Allen, I don't think has the mental processing that a Joe Burrow or a Patrick Mahomes has. Yeah. So, like, in real time in the game, it's much different when you're on a whiteboard or anything. Obviously, he has all the physical traits. The point is like, they're all dealing with something, and every single one of these guys has a flaw. But the more flaws you get, and with Tua, it's size, it's health, it's arm strength. Can he win? Is he going to make the Dolphins a legitimate contender, or is it because of everything that's around him? And I think more times than not, you just kind of know it when you see it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there are people right now listening like, well, Joe Burrow had Jamar Chase and had T. Higgins. And okay, fine. You ask anyone in the league, everyone knows
Right.
Joe Burrow has it.
Yeah.
I don't hear the same things about Tua. And so I would not be shocked if the Dolphins are leery and don't ultimately pay him.
That's why I brought up Joe Burrow specifically, because Joe Burrow has also had two of the best receivers in the game in Chase and Higgins. But you can tell, like you said, like as a person who's had to cover Joe Burrow, for the past few years, whenever he plays the Steelers, like you can tell, like that guy, you're right, like that guy's it. Like when he's on, he is one bad dude to stop. The Steelers have also played Tua Tagovailoa. They did not get the same vibes from Tua Tagovailoa, and it's like it's a different level of preparation. And I'm right with you. Like if the Dolphins ended up paying Tua, I'd be like, well, I guess because he's your franchise quarterback and he's 26 years old, and you want to keep that on the team and all that. But if they didn't, I'd be like, I understand entirely why, because this guy, like right now, you got to do it. And here's the other question: how much of this is tied to Mike McDaniel's future with the Dolphins right now? Because if I'm Mike McDaniels and I can keep my offensive system, but I know I can't pay Tyreek Hill much longer, and I'm going to need another superstar wide receiver, what if the Vikings pay Justin Jefferson, maybe Jordan Addison comes available in a couple years, or maybe they're the team that lands T. Higgins if he doesn't stick with the Bengals long term. Like that's where my mind might be, is that like, look, Tua, I might even be sitting at the negotiation table like, look, Tua, the reason that you've been able to do so well is because we've been able to surround you with talent like this that's going to add to this offense in a big way and make your job a lot easier. If you don't make $55+ million a year, and maybe you make $40 million a year, which is like the average for like Dak Prescott or Matt Stafford or Daniel Jones. And I know that might be insulting to some people who really think that Tua deserves more, but if he makes that much, then they can get a little bit more to add some of that talent and keep some of that talent around him. And I think if I'm the Dolphins, who by the way still haven't done anything yet. Like they haven't had some crazy run. They haven't been to the AFC Championship game. They're not even the Bills where, they've gotten to the point where just before. They are still looking to prove a lot. And, I kind of sit in the same position where if you ask me, would you pay Dak Prescott a ton of money? I'm like, where have I gone with Dak Prescott? I have the same question with Tua Tagovailoa if I'm the Dolphins. Where have we gone so far? And it's not like he hasn't had talent around him. I think the Dolphins, if I was their GM, I would be trying to negotiate a more team-friendly deal with Tua. And if I couldn't figure that out, I'd be taking my chances and trying to draft a quarterback and sign other big-name players elsewhere.
Yeah, I think that's a really realistic strategy. I think that could end up happening. Let's get into where Tua ranks a little Tua stock watch, because it's real easy to say, oh, you got to pay Tua. Okay, well, let's compare him to some of his competitors, some of the guys that he's being compared against. We will do that with a little stock watch quarterback edition coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets easier, fast. It takes all the worry out of getting tickets to any of your favorite live events, whether it's Major League Baseball, which is in full swing, whether it's concerts, whether you want to get ahead of things with the NFL season right around the corner. And Chris, you know it. It's right around the corner, sneaking up on us. Game Time is the place you got to go. You can get last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. They have easy-to-find Major League Baseball tickets. So maybe you're hanging out near the stadium in your town and you're like, I'm going to go. And first pitch is 10 minutes away. Game Time is the perfect app to have so you can be ready and get those tickets quickly. And they have seat views. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, and their all-in pricing shows the exact price so you know exactly what you're going to get without all of the hidden fees. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
We're back here on the Wednesday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast. Chris Carter, James Rapien. James, let's do let's see which stock you prefer to buy. If we're talking quarterback, we were talking about Tua Tagovailoa there. I want to compare him to other quarterbacks in the NFL right now, as far as who you would take if you had a decision to pay one of these quarterbacks long term the same amount of money. Who would you take over them? Who would you take and why? And let's start with a quarterback in the AFC East right now, and that's Aaron Rodgers. With Aaron Rodgers where he's at in his career, not prime Aaron Rodgers, not Super Bowl 45 Aaron Rodgers, right now Aaron Rodgers, which, by the way, lasted 3 seconds last year.
Yeah.
Would you take Tua's stock over where Aaron Rodgers is right now?
Long term, it's no doubt. So let's say it's a 3-year deal. No doubt. If it's a franchise tag and you're trying to win the Super Bowl this year and you have a Super Bowl winning roster, I think it's much closer. I do. And it's because when Aaron Rodgers is right, and it's been a while now, I get it, but he's one of the best to ever do it. And so will he be able to muster that this year and give the Jets a real option? I don't know. We'll see. I think the mandatory minicamp was a bunch of drama for no reason. Who cares? But there always seems to be drama for no reason around Aaron Rodgers. You know what I don't like? You know what I don't want to deal with? I don't really want to deal with drama.
Yeah.
So as you were asking it, I thought I'd say, well, Aaron Rodgers on a 1-year deal, I'd take him. But I actually wouldn't. And it has nothing to do with football, because I think when they're both healthy, when they're both right, today, Rodgers is probably better. I don't want to deal with the drama. So Tua, slight edge, because he's quiet, drama-free.
I feel you on that. And I even side with that. I'm also of the opinion that Aaron Rodgers does a lot too much, just in my opinion. When I'm going over what I want in a quarterback, and even the whole, everyone's got to be all in with this team. They got to, and then he's not at mini camp, and it's like, what's happening here? Like, why are we doing this? Like, you're just to show up, practice with the team, go on your Hayahuska, whatever the heck it's called, your dark retreats, when you have the off season, like there's all sorts of time to do that. So I'm with you there. Let's switch it up with a younger quarterback. What about Trevor Lawrence, who just got paid a big contract? Trevor Lawrence, I saw an interesting debate pop up on my Twitter feed. Jarrett Bailey of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. He proposed that Trevor Lawrence is better than Tua Tagovailoa, and you're crazy for thinking that he's not. Where do you stand on Trevor Lawrence? I kind of feel like both of these guys are a little bit closer to the middle of the road than the upper echelon of quarterbacks. So I'm kind of like, yeah, it's either here nor there. But I feel like, if nothing else, Tua Tagovailoa has been efficient. But the question is that more of a product of his system and his talent around him versus his actual just talent?
I think Trevor's better.
Okay.
I think Trevor's better for a few reasons. One, the ceiling is much higher. I don't know if he's going to get there. And you're right. Considering where he was coming into the league versus now, you would say he's been a disappointment to a degree. I would say that they hired Urban Meyer and it was a joke.
That was a terrible development situation.
And yeah, they're trying to figure that part out. And so who knows? Maybe he does become one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But what I do think is he has the physical ability to do so, to be that, to make plays off script, to make the throws that are needed, to be big, strong in the pocket, physical, all of these things that Tua is just never going to be able to do. He's just not. He's got physical limitations. The arm strength is a limitation. No matter how accurate, no matter how efficient, you're not going to be size, strength, speed like Trevor Lawrence. And by strength, I mean arm strength too. And so that's where I fall. Now, if it's Tua for $35 million, which won't be the case, or Trevor for $55, well, that's way different. But I think if it's all apples to apples, I take Trevor because I still think he has some untapped potential. I think in the right system. For example, let's just say the Jags flipped Matt Stafford, Trevor Lawrence for Matt Stafford. You telling me Trevor Lawrence isn't going to ball out for the Rams? I mean, of course he is, right?
Right.
Let's flip it again. Are you bullish? I wouldn't rule out that the Jacksonville Jaguars win that division. And I know everyone loves the Texans, but I wouldn't rule that out this year. I would probably rule that out if Tua was the quarterback and not Trevor. Just to give you an idea, just because I think there's a ceiling that maybe he hits it this year. Maybe he doesn't. And maybe I'm wrong and he doesn't have that ceiling that I think he has. But I think the physical traits for Trevor give him the edge.
I like that take. I think that Trevor Lawrence certainly. I get it. Trevor Lawrence is someone I've covered in the ACC. I got to see him up close, and I was like, man, that guy's unstoppable. And you're right. I think he has the higher ceiling. I think part of it is just like I said with Tua, I need to see it, and I need to honestly see more from Trevor than I've seen from Tua. You know, Trevor's best year in quarterback rating was when he had a 95.2 passer rating that year, and Tua that was the year Tua led the league in passer rating. And so so I look at that and I think and listen, there's things on tape that again, like I see it, it's like clearly Trevor can do this and Tua cannot. But I think I also need to see Trevor in a system like Tua's, and then I would wonder how would he do in that situation versus how Tua would do with the Jaguars. Let's switch it up with going back to an older person here. What about Tua Tagovailoa versus Geno Smith and what you've seen him do with the Seahawks?
I would take Tua. Age, I think they have probably similar ceilings, but maybe not. Maybe Tua has another level that we haven't seen yet. And so, no, I would take Tua. And I think that's what's interesting is it like we're not bashing Tua. Geno Smith, by the way, the past 2 years has been really good. And he wasn't the reason they lost last year. He's taking some blame for that. But no, I think Tua is a darn good quarterback. It's just it's a lot of money these days, and it's a big commitment. What do you agree with that, or would you take Geno?
No, I agree with that. I think that I think that age plays a big part of that. I think that Geno's done a great job reforming his career. I think that he's shown that his time. I think similar to what Trevor Lawrence wanted. So Geno has shown that his time with the Jets was not all his fault, and that he shares responsibility, and he got knocked out in the locker room and things like that, and there were things that weren't great. But clearly Geno Smith's first situation was not suitable to him. And I think that Trevor Lawrence can say that early on it hasn't been for him either. Now, Peterson might fix that. Who knows? But I'm with you in that. I think that I would take Tua here simply because the age really helps out. And I think that when you look at Tua, I could try to work with him a little bit longer. Granted, I think Geno Smith has formed in his system pretty well, and he's also had some favorable situations with Lockett and Metcalf there. I'm going to throw this other name at you here, and this is another name. I have one more
for you too. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, you hit me first because I've hit you with several.
Brock Purdy. Or Tua. Is that the one you have for me?
He was like going to be my last one. I had two more for you, so I did. He was in my back pocket. I feel like what Brock Purdy's shown me has been more than what Tua's shown me at times because he's been able to step up. But like Tua, I think Brock benefits from a system that is really well developed around him. I think he has some really serious talent, and I think he's asked to do less because he's on a team that has one of the best defenses in the NFL. So I tend to go back and forth there. But I think so far I would take Purdy because I think he can deliver in some clutch moments. I also think I can pay him a lot less than what Tua is going to ask for.
I think it's really close. I think both franchises are kind of in the same situation. Where it's like, do we pay them this kind of money? The 49ers still have some time with Purdy. We'll see there. I would take Jaden Daniels over Tua Tagovailoa. There's your take. There you go. There's your take.
There's your take. Jeez, I was going to give you a layup of Jordan Love, but my goodness, Jaden Daniels.
That's closer because you have to pay Jordan.
True.
Remember, Jaden Daniels. Like if I was the Dolphins, I would have traded Tua for the second pick.
You're saying if Jaden Daniels was on a rookie deal. Oh, absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
But Jordan Love versus Tua, it's closer because you got to pay both. I think Jordan Love has the more freaky talent.
I agree.
You default to that.
Yeah, that was my layup for it, because I was gonna say Jordan Love and see if you said something crazy, but nah, I'm on the same page as you, Jordan Love. So I think it's interesting. We named about 6 different quarterbacks to compare Tua to, and I think the only one we differed on was Trevor Lawrence. I felt like maybe Tua over Trevor there, but for the most part, when you compared him to Jordan Love, when you compared him to Brock Purdy, we compared him to other quarterbacks in his age range, he doesn't rank over them in when it comes to most of them. And so with that, I think that gets back a lot to the should you pay Tua conversation, the top dollar. And if he doesn't, if it depends on what the Dolphins evaluations are. We're just 2 guys hosting a podcast.
Golf or Tua?
Oh, I hate you for bringing that one up.
Notice we're not comparing him to Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert.
Exactly. But that's the other part of this is that we're talking about paying him Joe Burrow type money, but we're comparing him to all the guys that are in the echelon beneath Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and all those guys. You don't got
to tell me. Yep.
So
Jaden Daniels, come on down.
I'm right with you. If I was to pick anybody here, it'd be all the rookie deal quarterbacks that are doing well right now over Tua Tagovailoa. And I think that if we went through all of the similarly aged quarterbacks who are either just at the end of their rookie deal or about to get paid, I think that Tua would get picked over about 25% of them, maybe. So therein lies your answer why we don't think that they should pay Tua Tagovailoa.
Yep, makes sense. Up next, Hard Knocks is coming to the AFC North. The NFL is doing something a bit different this year with their in-season Hard Knocks, a show that made its debut in 2021, Chris. They're covering an entire division, the best division, a division that had 4 teams with winning records, 3 playoff teams last year, ton of storylines. On first glance, and I got to be honest with you, I've never really paid attention to the in-season Hard Knocks. In-season it's such a busy time. I'm sure you're the same way. And so it's like, if I hear good things, I'll watch it. And it's never really pulled me in. Well, now we'll both be watching because it's covering the AFC North. You cover the Steelers. I cover the Bengals on a daily basis. And so the teams we cover are going to be on it. And so, yeah, I do like this strategy. I think it may get more eyeballs because they're going with the best division in football. You're hitting 4 different markets, and there are a ton of storylines and star players in this division.
I think it's going to be really interesting because you've seen the last 3 times they've done it. They did the Dolphins, they did the Colts, and they did the Cardinals. None of those 3 teams inspire much. Like, one, they're not crown jewel franchises in the NFL. They're not, the most intriguing teams at the times that they were done. And they also weren't hyper competitive at the end of the year. This way, even if Joe Burrow goes down, even if TJ Watt goes down, even if Lamar Jackson goes down or Myles Garrett goes down, you're going to get somebody from this division that's bringing it. And there's going to be stories. And when these teams, and they hate each other, they're going to be digging it out. It's going to be AFC North football, man. There's gonna be a lot of drama here. And as a person, like, I think that 24/7 sports type coverage where cameras are around the team at all times, get unique angles and perspectives and get you to show you things that even we as reporters wouldn't get to see. Those can be really valuable, especially in rivalries. And they can be important for single team coverage. But when you get to see rivalries and see things that make the rivalries, like the things behind the scenes where you get just seeing times where players argue in the tunnel or see more beefs or things that are said, I think those can be really cool. A personal experience, there was a show where they did 24/7 sports around the Penguins and the Capitals in the NHL, and they hated each other, and it was Crosby and it was Ovechkin, and you got to see the hatred up close and personal and the preparation that led to it. I think that's going to be very cool, especially with how the AFC North is going to be playing itself a lot in the last couple months of the season. I think this has the potential to be the best version of this in-season Hard Knocks. As a reporter, I hate it because they're just going to be in the way, and we're going to have to fight past all these cameramen all the time, and they're going to be getting things that we don't get. So I'm going to be a little bit jealous. But as a consumer, I'm very intrigued by what this might look like.
Yeah, it should be good because you're right. There's going to be end of year storylines, whether it's, is it time for Justin Fields to, like think about that, or is Russell Wilson, did he revamp his career completely because the Steelers are 8-2, or whatever the storyline could be there. Cleveland, we have all those different storylines, from Deshaun Watson coming back, obviously Joe Burrow coming back from injury. And so, heck, Lamar is lighter. Maybe that's a future show topic. Lighter Lamar, is that better? That will be a topic, though. And the show doesn't debut until December 3rd on HBO. But it is, I'm in. I like the idea of it. Ask me in a couple months from a reporter standpoint. I've never covered a Hard Knocks. So the Bengals have been on the traditional Hard Knocks twice. I was not covering the team daily on either one, 2009 or 2013. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I will say this. They've done their own like in-season like reality shows, so to speak. They started it last year, and I didn't really notice. Apparently they had way more people. I didn't notice. I'm my own business. So I do think that I will notice these cameras, to your point. And who knows? Maybe we'll be on TV, Chris. You never know. Maybe they'll use this show since it's Pittsburgh and Cincinnati.
Absolutely. We're gonna have to get in some yelling matches the week on our crossover Thursdays to try to get on HBO.
You're telling me that TJ Watt is the best defender ever. You're telling me that.
Over me and Joe Green, over Reggie White, over LT. Absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna do stuff like that. But again, like I think it's gonna be interesting to see a lot of the things. Like there have been little things that we've been able to grab. Like one thing that I've gotten that have been really cool is times when the Steelers come back from a big win, and I've been able to be like right at the locker room entrance, and I see the team coming in, the responses that they get. And sometimes the players, they see my camera and they're like, hey, what's up? And then, there's a couple times I've seen Mike Tomlin coming back in and the enthusiasm that he brings. But like, it's different when it's an AFC North opponent. It's different when these two teams and the trash talk that comes from it, like La'el Collins, the 2 years ago when when TJ Watt was just coming back from an injury and he shut him out from getting a sack in the game, he was talking trash afterwards. And then there's times when the Steelers and the Ravens, they're always talking trash, and then there's the Browns with everybody. There's going to be so much between this, or even also like, what if something crazy happens in a game, like last year, how when Minka Fitzpatrick hit Nick Chubb, which by the way, the entire Browns team, including Nick Chubb, have said that was a completely fine, legal, not dirty hit. And Browns fans were so upset because Nick Chubb was out for the season. They called it a dirty hit. Everyone was mad at Minka Fitzpatrick. People sending him death threats. It was crazy. But everyone who was like being objective about it was like, no, this wasn't dirty. Like that could be like covering something like that, whether it's an injury or a controversial call or a controversial touchdown. That could be really good for the game of football to kind of give people this inside perspective that's going to have cameras and people in areas that normally there wouldn't be.
No doubt. No, I think this is the chance. And if this doesn't work, maybe HBO's in-season Hard Knocks goes away. But I think this has a chance to work. And we'll see if it does. We will be covering it every single day here on Locked On NFL. I think the episodes air Tuesday nights. So who knows? Maybe we'll be covering it on Wednesdays. But it doesn't debut until December. We will have you covered. He's Chris Carter of Locked On Steelers. I'm James Rapien of Locked On Bengals. This has been Locked On NFL. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, follow wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, thank you so much for listening and watching Locked On NFL.